10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah. Hi, here we are again. Oh God, it's like the highlight of my week when I know that we get to actually make contact with each other. So welcome to the CFAA Film Talk, the webcast for the Capital Film Arts Alliance. We are Northern California's really most only active association of filmmakers at all levels of their career, and crew and cast and talent. We really have a community here, and you grow as your community grows. So our purpose is to keep everybody connected. We've been doing that since 2004, and we take great pride in what Sacramento has produced, what Northern California is doing and working together as creatives, and in what we're building as an industry here. So thank you for joining us in all of these different conversations that really let you know there's a lot going on. If you don't know that already, there's a lot going on. So I want to make sure the CFAA, so we're a nonprofit association, and we typically, before COVID, we're having 3 monthly meetings, 4 if you count our board meeting, for actors, writers, and filmmakers, bringing in speakers to each one of those, or having mini workshops. And so obviously we had to shut that down. This webcast is the way that we've kept going. We also have our screenwriters group that participates in a Zoom-based workshop every month on the 4th Tuesday of every month. So there's a lot of super cool things happening with that group. We're really trying to pivot to where what we can't do, we can find new ways to do things. So as an example, we will be having on the meeting on March 23rd for the Screenwriters Lab, they're having a little competition of the first 3 pages of a script that will be submitted and reviewed, and they'll do this all as a group, and everybody's script will go through that process. That is something that you can still submit by March 15th. And if you are emailing our screenwriters group, you can reach Rick and Jack, who run that group, by email at, write this down now, scripts@capitalfilmarts.org. Capital with an A, CAPITAL, filmarts.org. With that, they'll put you on the mailing list that is separate for the writers to give you the links for when they have their Zoom meetings and any updates on things that they're doing. In addition to that fun little things that they are putting together for this next meeting, they also are planning, it's kind of exciting, we're just now putting this together, cash prizes for a logline contest. So again, for writers, we want to, support you and encourage you and motivate you to be really creative. So this logline contest, cash prizes, what else can I tell you for sure? Cash prizes of $400, and we'll be sending out details about that. You do have to be a CFAA member to enter that, but we are going to be offering to anybody who participates in that competition a virtually half price discounted membership, so that we can give you a break, and it allows you to get in, support the organization first and foremost, but also qualify to win up to $400 in the cash prizes. So that's kind of cool. March 16th. Which I guess is a little bit before their 23rd meeting. So next Tuesday, the 16th, we are featuring a webcast with an Academy Award-winning producer and distribution company owner, Larry Meistrich, who was the producer for Sling Blade, which captured the biggest buy of any independent film in its day at Sundance. So it's kind of cool that we're meeting this group with their first film at Sundance. And these aspirants are experiencing things for the very first time in having this experience of the Sundance and the recognition that brings their film. Larry, his first film, which was kind of like anybody, it was built on maxing out his Amex cards, and he knew nothing, and yet it turned into an amazing film that won awards, and again, got a $10 million purchase price from Miramax, which was unheard of at that time. So he'll be here next week, and that was many, many years ago. So what his career has done since that exposure at Sundance, what he's created and where he's gone, I think will be a really interesting parallel to what we're hearing now with these guys and their initial, opportunities with their first film. So a lot of fun stuff coming up. And again, I know you're not having gatherings with people to have these conversations. So I really hope that you can find the time to join us and ask your questions and learn about what we're doing here in Sacramento. The website is always the first place to put details that are important. So capitalfilmarts.org is the best way to reach us to either sign up for the newsletter for free. Just double check if there's a date or a time that you want to verify. The website will tell you. And then everything else we go out through, social media and blah, blah, blah. Your participation. I'm so glad that you're here to join this conversation with these guys. I have watched their climb in what they're creating and have seen the movie, and it really captured everything that a good movie should capture. And comedy is damn hard, y'all. So we have quite a few of the cast and crew that are here with us. It's going to be a little bit of a cluster cuss, but they did not have that, premiere screening that allowed them to come on stage and take a bow and really share their contribution to the film. And as we all know, it takes a village. It's not one person. It is many. So who we have to bring on first? Manuel Crosby, who was Manuel did everything. He was the producer, the writer, the editor. Let's bring Manuel up, and then we'll bring everybody else on board. There you are. So, welcome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
There are so many that are, envious, and others that are just so relieved. And, you got to feel so good about, first of all, creating something and going from beginning to end with a group of people that you enjoyed that time.
Yeah.
First and foremost, that's like, the best.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a real joy making this film, and it was kind of like a family atmosphere after a while, as I'm sure a lot of local filmmakers definitely understand. When you get the gang together and get on set, it's so much fun. You're all kind of in the trenches together, and you just kind of grow closer to each other through the process of doing it. So, and it's great to be able to see a lot of folks here tonight for the first time in quite a while. So I'm excited.
I'm just really happy that we could bring you guys together. And as the news spread from, first of all, that, the film was done. And then the second of all, the people that I heard and that I knew of that were involved. And then when it gets accepted to Sundance and it's recognized, socially and through every other outlet for being one of the Sundance, bests. Like, seriously?
Yeah, I mean, I'm completely amazed and so grateful that we had that opportunity. That wasn't like a part of our plan or anything like that. That myself and Darren Knapp, my co-writer and co-director who can't be here tonight, we just wanted to make a movie, and we hoped we could sell it afterwards. And and that was kind of where our heads were at. And to get that call about Sundance was a complete surprise, but it's been very fulfilling in spite of everything that's been happening this year, to be able to see the excitement of the other cast and crew about that experience, and being able to be a part of that really cool film tradition in a way, with that festival. So it was super rewarding.
Was this an idea that you had already, or I mean, where did this come from? What was the seed, basically?
Well, the seed of this idea was I was actually having car problems at the time, and I was at Darren's house having breakfast and just kind of complaining about, man, my car was falling apart again. And I, ever since I've been driving, like most people, drove heavily used cars that had catastrophic failures in 1 to 2 years, so it was happening yet again with my car at the time. And I just said, I said something like, people always say they treated the car super well and all this stuff and maintained it, but you never really know. You never really know what somebody did to your car before you got it. You never know who had it. You never really know how many people had it. And that just sort of sparked the idea almost, oh, it'd be so funny if someone made a movie about that. A kid who buys a used car and has no idea how crazy the backstory of that vehicle is. And we were just throwing ideas back and forth and laughing about it, and just coming up with funny stuff and fun, entertaining stuff. And by the end of that breakfast, we had the entire outline for the story. And it was like, wow, that never happens. I mean, as I'm sure a lot of, the writers out there know, a lot of times it's this, deep, dark, soul searching period of trying to put the story together. And it just kind of fell out of the sky almost. And I got really excited and felt like, oh man, we have to not only write this, we have to make this movie. Like, this is giving me that wave of excitement that you need to get you through the challenges of production. That's what I was feeling as we were talking about the idea. And so that's what we did.
So you've already gone down the road of virtually making something for nothing. I mean, we all have as filmmakers. That's kind of often how we start. The projects that we hope don't ever have the day of light shed on them, but we learned invaluable lessons. So what was it about this one that you knew before you started that you had to do better? That this was, if you really wanted to sell it, this is what would be important.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think, it's all of it, really, the entire the package, as an artist. I think we all strive to do better each time, to improve on, the mistakes we made last time. And so that's always kind of the goal and the ambition. And you just try to live up to the other movies that you love. You give it your best shot, do what you can to get there. And so that's, in terms of intention behind everything, that's really what it was and is on every film that I work on, and that all of these other folks work on too. But I think the other important thing for us, and for me particularly, having never made a feature film before, the most important thing was to complete it. And sometimes, I have many friends who, are filmmakers who can never get that first feature that they really want to do off the ground, because they always feel like they don't have enough of this, or, they don't have enough financing, or they don't have the right cast, or, they don't have a name actor to be in it, and all these things. And I really didn't want that to get in the way. And there are a number of local filmmakers actually who had kind of blazed that trail already. Off the top of my head, Josh Pearson with Where Sleeping Dogs Lie. I remember kind of watching how his production came together and feeling really inspired that they were kind of going out there and doing it, finding a way to make it happen, to manifest their dream, and that's awesome. And that's what it takes. So that was definitely the mindset I had as well. You know, the most important thing is to finish the film, and you know, it will probably never be perfect, but we're going to try our best to take it one step forward or multiple steps forward from the last thing we did, and get to the end, and then hopefully we can make another one after that.
So I'm not going to ask you your budget because I think that's a stupid question and nobody ever wants to answer that anyway. But were you working on a shoestring or were you working with funding?
Oh well, it's I think there is funding, but I think it always feels like a shoestring, you know. And I wish I could divulge the numbers because I think it would really be, you know, educational to a lot of people. But the reality with independent filmmaking, especially with a first film, without Hollywood stars, you never really have enough money. It's very challenging to get a budget to do that. So that's, you know, part of why we wore multiple hats on the production. I mean, it's one reason why I personally like doing a lot of things. I like, you know, shooting and editing and writing and all that stuff. So, yeah, I mean, that it felt good to do those things, but it was also a practical choice, you know. And in order to acquire that funding, we actually had to start making the movie before we had the budget we needed to complete it too, because it's really hard to get funding for a first-time film, even if you made a first-time feature film, even if you've made short films in the past. It's just a different thing, you know. Investors want to be confident that you can already do what you're asking them to financially support you to do. So our workaround for that was we just started shooting. We did the first scene of the film, completely finished it, shot it, you know, wrote it, shot it, cut it, color correction, sound, all of that. And it only had one actor in it. So it was a little more manageable, you know, one actor, essentially one location, and one day of shooting. So we put that together knowing we were going to use it in the final film, because we kind of thought, well, why, you know, put money into doing like a demo version that's going to have to be redone. Let's just, you know, put our money into the film itself and check one scene off the list. So that's what we did. We finished that up and used that to generate interest and additional financing. All the while, you know, myself, Darren, and our lead producer, Brandon Krause, we're putting our own money into the budget to get started. So then we cast everybody, we're rehearsing and started just shooting the easiest stuff, started shooting what we could afford first and cutting it together. And, you know, even after
was it a SAG production or independent?
No, this was a non-union production, and our reason for that actually was we didn't have the producing staff to be able to like juggle, you know, dealing with the SAG requirements. And it just, in all honesty, when it started out, it was actually just Darren and myself. You know, we were like, we can't really, you know, we don't have the hours or the money to do that, but primarily the hours was the biggest, and the focus was the biggest part of that. So anyway, as we're shooting and cutting and stuff, we're showing people that we are actually creating the movie, and we're like all in, essentially. We put our own skin in the game. We put our own money into the film, and the, you know, the train is moving. So that helped inspire confidence that the project wasn't just going to fall apart. So we're slowly able to, you know, find a few individuals here and there to invest. And, you know, we start with ourselves and we work outwards. So your first initial investors are your friends and family, right? People who already know you and want you to succeed, and, you know, are like, okay, I guess you guys are doing this film. I see it's coming together. I feel good about this, you know. And then as the farther we got and the more progress we got into the film, then you start reaching outside individuals who have either just a business connection with you or, you know, or no connection with you at all. And our producer, Brandon, was great at finding those people. And, you know, we were able to shoot the big, you know, complicated scenes at the end. We get the rough cut together, and all of a sudden people are like, oh, I can watch the whole movie front to back. Okay, I see where it needs like, additional work and color correction and sound and this and that. But I get it. You guys did it. That's really cool. I like this. Let's invest. And so it became easier to invest towards, it became easier to raise the budget the closer we got to the end of the process, actually.
Mm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. I got to say, I think you really just hit every note. It's like your casting was incredible. You have such a large cast, but yet every one of those people stands alone. Excuse me. They stand alone on screen and hold their own in a really spectacular way. Your pacing, which to me is often the downfall of a lot of independent films, is it's too long. It takes too long to get from one point to another. Your pacing was incredible. Everything, your audio was great. Your editing was great. I mean, there are certain areas that you can almost always see for a first-time film where there might have been corners cut, or not everybody on screen is A1. I didn't see a single one on your cast that didn't deserve to be there and do an incredible job.
Thank you so much. I mean, that's one of the things that means the most to me about this film is, that we were able to, with the exception of the guy in the first scene who's my friend and lives in LA, everybody else is local, and that just means so much to me to show how much talent there is up here, and that everybody involved, cast and crew. I mean, you mentioned like the sound, that's a lot of that is because of our sound recording, done by primarily by Andrew Hobgood, but also a few other people as well in the local community. But it just means a lot to me that everybody brought their best and really put their hearts into this project, and you can definitely see the results on screen. So I'm really, really proud of everybody.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, this sounds cheesy, but I also want to thank you, because it's films like this that hold their own, that have talent behind them, that are going to be able to continue to contribute in the creative path, that really help us to better sell our area as a film hub. We want to create an industry in Sacramento that really supports Northern California filmmaking. And so when it's being done well and we can point to those examples, it really helps us all to grow what we want to do, because the more work is the more work is the more work. So I love that.
Absolutely.
And that's, a tool that I think, everybody in the region will be able to use to point to, yes, we can, and look at this. So
absolutely, yeah, I've always believed that, I'm excited for the future for everybody in the local film community, because I've seen for quite a while, there's so much talent and potential up here, and I'm excited to see what other people are going to be doing here in the next couple of years.
Yeah, well, you tapped into some of my favorite people, and honestly, I watched it once with weird audio, and then I watched it again through the link, and I really just enjoyed it, and it took me back to. Did you see Blood, Guts, Bullets, and Octane, the Joe Carnahan film?
No, I've been trying to find a copy of that movie for a long time. If anybody has one, please let me know, because I really want to see that movie.
I don't know. I mean, Joe, I guess we could try and, reach out.
Oh man, that'd be.
Yeah, he's actually been he's been there and done things with the CFAA in the past. So he's just a super busy dude. I just emailed him the other day because I watched the movie or the series that he just directed, Boss Level, on Netflix, which, holy moly, talk about an action film. Your action in your film blew me away, because that is an undertaking, and I want to definitely talk about that. There's very Tarantino style, and yet And yet you had the humor, you kept the humor. And that's where a lot of these heavily action-oriented films, you just lose any of that. So you managed to make that work. We have a question. Rick Keebler wanted to know, what size was your crew and how many days was your shoot?
Well, the crew size kind of fluctuated, and I guess this is something some advice I would give to anybody trying to make a film in general. Just look at your shooting schedule and the scenes you have planned, and figure out how many people you need on each day. And that's not the way most film crews are run. But if it's either that or you don't get to do everything you want to shoot and put in your film because you can't support that level of a crew, like absolutely, there's days where you can get away with a skeleton crew. There were days where it was just me and Darren behind the camera. And there were days also, the big scene at the end, I mean, our crew must have been on that day probably like 15 people, 20 people maybe. So it just depends on what's required. I guess on an average day, probably I'm not exactly sure, but it's pretty small. Basically the essentials, the essential crew. So like I said, we were wearing multiple hats. So
yeah. And you can go on IMDb. Steve, put a link on IMDb, and then that way it can also extend to exactly who was on, because we don't have everybody here.
Right. I do want to say we're fortunate enough to have a large number of the cast here, but there are quite a few of the cast and quite a lot of the crew members who weren't able to be here tonight simply because there wasn't enough space in this video chat box. But I hope that everybody will eventually get to speak on a little bit on their part in the film through some fashion. And I am really thankful for you guys for allowing this many people to come on this call.
Oh, totally. And, I would recommend, we could even host a Zoom call, which gives us, infinite face exposure of everybody. There's issues you have to work on with that. And for us to archive it and brand it the way that we do, we just, we get a better product, but we have limitations. So when it comes to that. And I do want to get to all those people that are chomping in the bit, waiting to talk. I just wanted to make sure that, we asked, the specifics of you. So, then we can kind of allow everybody else in. And let me look at any other questions that just are specific. Who did your casting? Sherry Haller's asking about, did you cast using all just people you knew? Did you use a casting director? Did you post on actor recruiting websites?
We did not have a casting director for this film. Some of the actors, a few I already knew, and we knew that we wanted in the film. But the majority, and I had heard of some of the others, or seen them in other local films. But the majority of people we found up through Sacramento casting, actually, just like saying, "Hey, we're casting for this film." I mean, at this point, it was probably like coming up on 3 years ago or something like that, a while ago. But we collected video auditions and sorted through those, and then set up some in-person meetings in Sacramento, and read lines with people. Eventually did chemistry screen tests with various actors, particularly our two leads, Tyson Brown and Shelby Duclos, but also like the gang had like a test together at one point, and so did the cops, and just made sure that everybody worked well together, and that's how we did it.
Wow. I'm telling you, it's like the universe was just shining all kinds of light on you to put the right people in your way. And that's awesome. That's so awesome to see. Yeah. Do you, let's see, here's a question too. Do you have more independent films in the making? I know you're probably up to your eyes in just distribution at this point, and
Yeah, I mean, I have other ideas. I've been really heavily focused on writing right now, and a few ideas I'm really excited about. One which could be done probably on this same budget level and turn out really well. Others that are bigger, and one exciting thing that's happening with this is bigger companies are getting interested and wanting to find out what's going on next. And so, we're not sure exactly if, the next film will be financed 100% independently like this one, or if it will be going through a production company of some kind. So it's really exciting.
Well, keep in mind that we want production like this to continue in Sacramento.
Mm-hmm.
We have a full-time film commissioner for the first time in our history.
Mm-hmm.
She can use success stories like this to build even more business. But also, when you're looking for anything, the CFAA, so our database is over 5,000 people that are all within the multi-county region around us. It's all local individuals and various levels of skills and talent. But if you're looking for a location or a particular piece of equipment or crew or cast, we have lots of ways that we can help to support getting your message out there and reaching that group. So please keep that in mind, when you're working on your next project, because we would love nothing more than to work in some way to support you in doing that. And just know that we're a resource for you and for everybody that's on your team to find their tribe, like
absolutely. Thank you. That means a lot.
This, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's a great thing about the local film community, that tight-knit quality, that family feeling, that like that's how it was on our set, but I gather that's how it is in the film community at large up here, and it's really great to be a part of it.
Yeah. It's I think that's what makes it awesome, is having that opportunity with the community, and then you build your family, and it just the people that you can bring on to the next project or remember for a project in the future, we're all just interconnected by how we can thrive and succeed and do the same, connecting other people that, we know are skilled and talented too. So yeah, so much great things can be happening in the community. What I want to do is, get some of your folks online, so maybe we can just bring them all out.
All right.
Just want to go ahead and bring them on screen, and then we can have everybody do this. Oh, and there's Ryan Adams.
Hey.
Excellent. Leah minus Jesse. Oh, here he comes. Oh my gosh. Okay, is that everybody? Are we missing anybody, Manuel? All right. Oh my gosh. You guys, I loved your movie. And it takes a lot, because I've seen a lot of movies and I've worked with a lot of first-time filmmakers. When you can hit it out of the park like that and really have something that you're proud of, what I want to ask is, did you know that this was something that was going to work and that was going to connect with the audience the way that it has? Or were you just literally having a ball? Because it looked like you were having the best time ever.
Reading the script, you kind of had a feeling that it was going to work. I mean, it just jumped off the page, and then especially after they shot the first scene and started showcasing that to everybody, you knew what you were getting into. You knew that really set the tone for the movie, and it set the tone for, at least for me, getting involved and just trusting everything that Manuel and Darren were going to do.
Yeah. I wanted to, before we start talking, actually, I wanted to have everybody introduce themselves and just say what your role was in the movie, and maybe just a second about what your experience is. Is this your first project? Have you been doing this forever? Basically, let's just start with. You want to call them out, Manuel, and have everybody.
Sure. So I guess we'll start with Ryan Adams, okay. Since he's sitting right here.
Since I'm sitting here. So not I'm on the spot. What was the question?
Who are you?
Oh yeah. Oh, I don't know.
What was the title? What was the role in the making of this movie? What job did you have, and what's your general experience? Was this the first time, or is there more to you?
My name is Ryan Quinn Adams. I play Vince, who is a fun-loving, lovable character. No, everybody's shaking their head. No, Vince has a little bit of anger issues and kind of flies off the cuff a little bit. He's a lot of fun, though. I had a blast playing him. My experience, I started acting when I was 8, and I fell in love with the whole filmmaking process when I watched Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back. It just really, I don't know, something about watching that when you're a little kid sparks so much in your imagination. And I actually had the opportunity to meet Harrison Ford at that, like right after I saw that, and I was putting 2 and 2 together, and it just blew me away that somebody got paid, play pretend, and have a wonderful life, you know. So I just you know, so that's where I always want to be an actor, and it's not what I've always done, though. You know, I had a normal life and a normal career until probably 2012, 2013. I auditioned for a short that Manuel was doing called Precaution. And I was lucky enough to get cast in it. And him and I collaborated on many, many projects since then. I worked both in front of the camera and behind the camera, and it was just a blast, you know. I mean, he's amazing, and I learned so much from him, and you know, it was a real honor to be a part of this.
Oh, cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Cool. So I guess next, let's go with Tyson Brown.
Hey guys, I'm Tyson, last name Brown. Yo, what's up, book club? What's up, guys? Let's see here. I played Mike in the film. Mike's an awesome dude. I hope you guys liked Mike. If not, that's okay. You didn't understand him. But I got into acting at the beginning of 2018, which is when this was kind of casted. So this is my first feature, my first lead role, and it was fun. I got to cross a lot of stuff off my list as an actor. I wanted to like be in my own action film and do all this kind of crazy stuff and do all my own stunts. And doing that earlier on, I was just like, what? I get to do this now? Like, sure, okay, yeah, let's do it. I'm in. I just feel like a big kid on set every day, and every day was it was pretty fun. It could be exhausting, tiring, but it was all worth it in the end, even during the process. So I couldn't be happier. And Sundance was like, I'm still speechless over that, because I still can't believe that happened this early. But it was sick. It was tight, and yeah, that's it. I think I answered all the questions.
Yeah, you did a great job. Do you still have your dreads? Do you still have your dreads? I love those.
Yeah, they're chilling back of my hat. Yeah, I got them put back.
Yeah, no, you jumped on the screen. You were great. And then, yeah, knowing that was your first feature role, that's pretty impressive. That's a whole nother great story, you know?
Yeah, thanks. Thank you. Yeah, with the cast support and meeting Darren and Manuel, like they really helped out a lot, because I was lost on a lot of stuff, and they just kind of helped me focus on what was important. And yeah, it worked out.
Love it.
Cool. All right. So let's go with Shelby, the great Shelby Duclos.
The badass Shelby.
I was wondering if I could say badass on here, because that's like how I like to describe my character.
You are absolutely badass, and that's the thing. We have no time limits here, and we have no language. So whatever you got to say, feel happy to. I'm the first one to usually break the language.
Yeah.
I'm very excited, Angela.
What did Manuel say?
I know Angela's excited about the no language filter.
Oh.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, yeah, I'm Shelby. I played Kelsey, the badass. That was just like Tyson, my first feature film, first lead role. Before that, I barely kind of dove into acting, so I was just kind of taking classes up in Folsom at Studio 24. Mm-hmm. And I did maybe 2 like student films at that point when I auditioned for this movie. So I got really lucky, I feel, to have gotten this role, especially with the tape that I sent in. It was, I tried to box in it, and I have no boxing experience, so I was just punching air, and it was not good. But I'm glad that, Manuel and Darren seen beyond that, because it wasn't great. But my first pretty much experience doing anything like this, doing an action movie was never really in my plan. I'm always like, I like to do dramas and maybe a rom-com. So I kind of got to do everything, which is really cool as an actor. So yeah. And then, that's how I started, was here at and then Sundance. And so it's just been crazy. I feel spoiled at this point a little bit.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
Well, you did a great job in your audition video, by the way. We cast you for a reason. We're so glad to have you in this film. And let's go to Jesse and Leah, the power couple.
Power crazies.
My name is Jesse Jansen. I play the captain in the film. I've been acting for a while. It's the only thing I ever wanted to do. Moved to LA when I was 20 and been doing films since then.
My name is Leah Affinity, and I played crazy old Darla. And I have been acting. Also, Jesse and I were actually in an acting troupe together in 7th grade.
Yeah. In Virginia.
Yeah, that was about where it started. So I started out doing a lot of theater, and I transitioned to film maybe like 5 or 6 years ago. And we've done a lot of stuff with CFAA and doing projects up in Sacramento. Both of us write also. And so we stumbled upon this. I think I found it on SAT Casting. And once I read the script and once I saw
No. He reached out to you because he'd seen you in that 48 hours.
I saw you in Donovan Murphy's film.
Jordan.
Yes.
Everyone look that up.
It was a good film.
Yeah. Anyway, so we read the script, and when we saw that first scene that they had shot, I mean, that's really a testament to maybe the way to do it, because when we saw that, we were sold. We were like, oh my God, this looks great. The script is great.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, funny anecdote is that we had just had a conversation. I'd done a couple independent films in Sacramento, and I told Leah, I said, I'm not going to do anything for free anymore. Like I love doing it, but these features with no budget, they just go on. And it's a huge time commitment.
And it's always like deferred pay, but then it doesn't go anywhere. So it's
whatever that means. Yeah.
Deferred nothingness. Yeah.
And so I said, I'm not going to do anything else for free. And the very next day, she got this audition because Manuel had contacted her. And so I was reading the sides with her, and I was like, oh, this is really good. Like, this is a really fun script. What the fuck? And so I immediately rescinded my what I just said, and I actually reached out to Manuel personally. I emailed him, and I was like, "Hey, you don't know me, but I got a hold of your sides, and I'd really love to be able to audition for this movie." And then that's how I got to audition.
But also, you auditioned for the guy who died in the first scene, and I was like, "But you know that he died," and I was like, "Jesse, you gotta understand, you don't want this part." But you did great.
That was the role. I was like, oh, because that was what Leah had read for. Also, was that scene, that opener, and I was like, oh, this guy, like, we're gonna be following this. This is the lead, and then Manuel told me, he was like, no, he dies immediately, and I was like, oh, do you have anything else? And then we transitioned into the role of the captain.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a wicked role. You were so well suited to that. And I was honestly, you're two of my favorites. And I was so proud of you, just both stand alone in those roles. And I was riveted to you every time you were on screen. It
Yeah,
was-
wow, thank you. A lot of that also in talking about films and maybe the difference between film and theater so often is rehearsal. And usually with films, because time is money, like you show up and you're like, hi, nice to meet you, and we're going. And but Manuel was really great about being adamant about giving us time to rehearse and get together and run the scenes and find the characters. And so much of, certainly for myself, of what ended up evolving into the role was through those rehearsals and being able to play with stuff and ask questions. And Manuel was some directorial components that I think are, for an actor, so useful, is clarity on the character and the direction and the functionality. So, understanding why this is the character and why we're heading in this direction, but also the openness and malleability to what an actor is discovering for themselves and in the moment. And we really got to, collaborate, on this, just speaking for my character, what was motivating and how it came around. It really, I owe so much of that to Manuel's decision to rehearse, which is unusual for film.
Yeah, I applaud that. That's so smart. So let's meet the book club.
Yeah. All right. So we've got quite a few people over here, cast and crew, and one person who did both. Who are you guys?
Hi, I'm Josh Fessler. I played the character Brett and was Jake Howard's professional fluffer on set.
I play. My name is David Paul Reimer, and I played. I was the masked gangster who probably shouldn't have been a gangster, but had a lot of fun doing this. Here you go.
I can't stop laughing. Okay, Scotty Noble played Dennis, and my God, what a long, strange trip this has been.
I'm Andrew Hobgood. I was part of the crew for First Date and Best Boy, sure.
And you still laugh like the little Asian panelist on the Japanese. You cover your mouth and you do this and laugh quietly, Manuel. You still do that. It's a very bad habit. You need to break it.
So book club, let me ask you a question. Did you guys know each other before this? Did you become friends?
So yeah, I worked with Darren on projects going back to the beginning 20 years ago. We just did little short films. Back when Andrew over here was an infant, and then I met Manuel about 10 years ago and did some voice work on a project, and then did some acting for him in Precaution. And when he said he was going to start working on this project, I was like, what role can I play? I just was like, let me go through the script. And I think I read for 5 different parts. And then he said that Shannon matched my personality. And I'm like, okay, I'll do whatever you want.
I pretty much knew almost nobody in the cast or crew, but Manuel worked on a short, and Ryan, yeah. Breaking news. That was the director, Ryan Adams, and Manuel Crosby are the only two that ever made me look fucking good on the screen. So, and I mean,
he dropped the first F-bomb.
and I mean, look good. Like, I look thin, real thin. So I love Manuel for life, and would happily have done any project. And then Tyson, right up here, and Andrew over there became my best friends on set.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's so great.
My turn. All right. Yeah, so I've known Manuel for a while, and Darren's actually my uncle, so obviously I've known him all my life. This is like my first feature that I ever worked on. I worked on a lot of short films with Darren and Manuel, and it was quite the experience. It was a lot different from a lot of the shorts we've made, but I learned so much through it, and they put me on all sorts of different positions. So it's like I learned quite a lot through it. So thank you.
Well, I knew nobody, and I usually know everybody. But I think the reason I call back is because the day I showed up to read for the captain,
Uh-oh.
The mic went.
We lost you.
what happened? Are you there? Everything
We
good?
lost the signal on the mic.
You got me? Oh, hello. You guys got me? Thumbs up? Okay, thumbs down. Okay, that Simon says. Anyways, I was driving my girlfriend's really, really nice convertible to the audition, and Highway 50 in Sacramento sucks, and people drive like shit, and they almost hit me like twice. So when I got there, I was in a lather, and I was reading for the captain, who was already pissed off in the sides, and I went totally method because Manuel goes, "Hi, I'm Manuel. This is Darren. How are you?" And I was like, "These fucking drivers," and I lost my shit. So I did a really decent audition. Yeah, Andrew, you were there. Yeah, I lost my shit. I melted down, and okay, that went really well. And then I got a call back, and I drove to San Andreas. The traffic was much better because it's kind of rural, and I'm kind of from West Virginia, so everything's kind of rural. And Jesse and Leah can vouch. The roads back home are a little like less occupied. So I get down there and I do the captain again. And then I get to read for Dennis because Manuel's like, "Look, we're having a little trouble with this. Can you want to read this?" I'm like, "Yeah, because I'll do anything because this is a hobby for me and it's therapy for me. And if I get paid, that's great, but I'd still kill communists for free, like Tony Montana." So instead of reading the sides, Manuel's like, "Hey man, sell me this car," and he puts two chairs together. So I just freelance and I go, and the whole time he's laughing like the Japanese panelist on Iron Chef and apologizing to me. Oh God, that's ED medicine. So I'm like, "This is great," and he goes, "All right, we're probably not going to cast for a while." And I'm like, "Thanks, good luck with this," and I leave because it's a hobby, and I'm like, "Good luck." I get home and he's like, "You want to be Dennis?" I'm like, "Sure." So the rest is history.
Oh, that's funny. All right, let's move on here.
All right. So we got Angela and Jake down at the bottom.
You first, me first. I'll go first. I'm Jake. I played the timid Donnie, getting yelled at and verbally abused the whole film. It was new for me. It was actually the first feature I worked on, but I feel lucky enough to have been on it because initially I saw the casting. I think it was like SAT casting, and I was like, "Man, that sounds like a really cool plot." But then they had a picture of Ryan up there, and they're saying, "You got to play this guy's brother," and I was like, "Oh, there's no way in hell." And then I think they'd already started shooting the movie, and Manny messages me through the casting website or email, and he says, "Hey, can you read for this?" And I said, "Absolutely." And so I remember he takes me to a park about 5 minutes from my house, and he's reading as Vince, and I'm reading for Donnie. There's a children's birthday party going on about 20 feet over there, while Manny's just dropping multiple F-bombs, like completely switching gears. He should be an actor himself, honestly. Like him reading for Vince was convincing enough for me because I was like, "Man, I really hope I get this." And after I glanced over to make sure the kids were okay, he seemed to have liked it enough to cast me. So that was really fun, cool experience. And I don't know, I feel like everybody because I'd worked on a couple films prior to this, but they were short films, and I feel like there was just such a good dynamic between the entire cast and crew to where, yeah, we would have like 10-hour days and all this stuff, but it didn't really feel like that because, you know, Tyson would be hunkered under an emergency blanket showing me memes. You know, Josh is like, can't sit still, Mr. ADHD. Scott's, you know, drinking some whiskey out of a flask. And I just loved hopping from circle to circle to, you know, it's in our green room to see what everybody was up to and like just bullshit around. It was just a good environment that I think in turn leads to a good end product that you see on screen.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. And hi, I'm Angela Barber. I played Ricky, and it actually was my first feature film as well. I did a couple of other things in the Sacramento area, and I used to do acting a while back. For a few years I was in theater mostly, and then I just stopped and did a bunch of other stuff. But then I went back into it, Studio 24, a few years back, and I met Shelby and I met Jake here. We've done a couple of things there, and then, you know, I saw the casting call on SAC Casting, and I actually auditioned. I sent in a tape for Darla, and then I went in and I did. I met with Darren and Manuel, and they liked it, but they must have auditioned Leah too, and they're like, you know what? I think they like Leah better for Darla. Probably they're like, gosh, we really love the way she does that. They said, you know, though, there might have been a point where I made a bad mean face or something, and they're like, let's have her read for Ricky. So then I ended up coming in. Well, I just went right to a chemistry read, and I did that with Ryan, and you know, Dave wasn't there at that time. There was another person there and some other people, but I guess they liked it. So yeah, I got to scream and yell, and Ricky just had to say the F word a lot. It just felt right. And yeah, shooting that shotgun, that was a blast. I saved a couple of the empty shells for souvenirs.
There's a couple empty shells too.
Do you? Yeah, I saved my whole outfit, my whiskey please hat and boots and everything. It was a blast. It was a great atmosphere and chemistry. You could feel the energy, and
everybody amazing release of energy that they had. Everybody exploded.
I do want to add though, so we had a couple instances of this where we had people in this group right now read for multiple roles and read for the same roles as each other, and it was because we knew these people are really good actors, and it was you know, let's just choose like which part is right for them. But we already knew anytime that happened, it was because we knew we wanted you in the movie already, and we were just trying to figure out exactly how to fit the pieces together.
Well, you know, Leah was absolutely brilliant as Darla, and I loved playing Ricky. It was very cathartic. So yeah, I'll shoot a shotgun anytime and throw out some F-bombs.
Yeah, we had some badass ladies in this film.
That's
Definitely
right,
you
right.
And Shelby.
Nicole,
badass
yes. Cop, Shelby. You would not want to mess with these women. Okay, and Darla too. Eyes open or shut.
Angie has like the biggest contrast, I feel like, in her character, because she's like the nicest, sweetest, like, cutest lady, and then she's like turns into this like, I was like, is that my friend Angie? Because I don't know her. It's like crazy, but good work, Angie.
Well, thank you. It's there. It's in there.
All right, Sam, how's it going, man?
It's going good. Hi, everyone. I'm Sam Ademola. I play one of the bad guys, Deputy Duke Coveney. Yeah, how did I get into this? I started off not really acting. I kind of started doing stand-up comedy at first, and then kind of found out that I'm not very funny. So I was already into the whole entertainment thing and trying to figure out, okay, how do I like keep this going, but obviously like not tell jokes because no one's laughing. So I started doing more theater at the time, around the time that this came out. around the time I started casting for this, and like everyone else, I was on SAT casting. But I think I might have actually gotten off SAT casting. But when you're on SAT casting, you can still, like, if a director or something like sees you, they can like request for you to audition, and I think that's how this happened. So I like paid the money to get logged back in to SAT casting so that I could submit and put something out there, and was just fortunate enough for Emmanuel to see something in me that he liked, and was very fortunate to be part of this wonderful cast. And that's about it.
And have you done a lot of acting before this, Sam?
Yeah, I did. I'd been acting for a couple of years. I got a little bit of a later start of acting, and later on in life, but was doing more primarily theater before this. So this was like kind of one of my first. I had done some shorts, but I think this was around the time I just started doing like more feature stuff. So it was like one of my earliest ones. But I had a blast.
Excellent.
All right, and Nicole.
Hi, everybody.
Hey.
So, I'm Nicole Berry, and I played Sergeant Davis, and Samuel was my guy. And I just wanted to say, I don't think you're bad. You're just complicated.
I would agree.
Right? So let's see. I started with theater, and theater is an intense, and I'm going to just throw the word magical experience out there, because you are really enrobed with this completely different lifestyle and a group of very close family-like new friends that come out of nowhere, that you may never have been on stage with before, never worked with before, and it's super intimate, and then it's over. And if you're me, you have a terrible emotional crash after, even if it's a comedy show or a drama or anything, you have a terrible crash. I still have them after movies, but it's not quite the same, because you're not having the up to the neck rehearsal time periods and days and days in a row with the same people. It's different scenes. You don't see the same crew. You don't see the same cast members. I got to spend a lot of time with Sam. He's wonderful, just a beautiful person. I was so happy to have met him. I did know several of the people in the cast beforehand, but I think at least an equal number of people that I didn't know, which is such a pleasure to just meet all these new people. And it's just so enriching, to hear where everyone's come from, and different energies and excitements. And so this was a brilliant film to work on, even in the most uncomfortable of moments. I tend toward being very cold. I don't know if there are lots of other female actors that are the same way, where they just get frozen on set, especially for filming outside. And even on the coldest evenings, I was just very happy, because these people are wonderful. And the minds on them, I don't know how you can get such a concentration of like brilliant minds in a room. It's beautiful and intimidating and kind of annoying sometimes. It just has all these artistic brainiacs, But so I had done several short films. I did work on a short film with Manuel called Dead Man's Locket, which to date is one of the favorite films I've been in. I rewatch it. I send it to everyone. It's a Western style, also dark comedy. I quote it. Everyone in my household quotes it.
Oh, now I want to see it.
Oh, you have to watch it. Sorry. I can't believe it. I'll send you a link. And then we had gone to, I think, the Sutter Creek International Film Festival for that short film, and we're sitting down for a snack afterward. And I said something, I don't know, stupid about color theory or how blue looks bad on me. And Manuel leans in and he goes, "So you wouldn't look good in a police uniform?" And I was like, I feel like I'm being set up right now. What are you actually asking? And it was more of a ... scenario. It was an emotional ellipsis. But then first date came together. And thank goodness it wasn't that dastardly blue uniform that would make me look tired and wan. It was a tan uniform, which I looked ravishing in.
The two of you, I got to say, there was such subtlety and there was such chemistry to your two roles and how you played them together and how they really stood apart from anybody else in the movie. And that subtlety is not easy. So you captured that, and whether it was because Manuel directed you efficiently, which it sounds like he nailed directing first and foremost, but I just kind of look at it like the alchemy of all of you working together and contributing in all the different ways you did, and that's what made the soup perfect, you know?
Soups are a lot of ingredients that all steep for different, amounts of time. It's true. I think Jesse had mentioned there's a certain amount of not even just rehearsing, but Manuel asking questions about the character. Do you think that she maybe would do this, or do you think she maybe had done that in the past, or like just a lot of prompting and, would she have ever been married? Just like all these questions that help solve complications that you never ever will have come up in words, but that sink deeply into the recesses of the character and then create a truly three-dimensional person. And the thing about the comedy style, oh, look at that, Tyson slow clapping. The thing about comedy, the comedy of my character is if it's written well, you deliver it straight and it hurts and tickles almost physically. And I can't, necessarily feel that on camera. And it's such a relief afterwards when you look at it and you go, oh yes, it's so dry. I feel parched. It's wonderful. That's very gratifying. And there's other humor. I guess you'd call it wet humor or moist humor. I don't know, but I prefer dry humor. Yeah, so that's about that. I think I've said my piece. I just want to say again, you're all wonderful, and I miss you.
So was Sundance the first place that you guys all got to see the finished movie? And what was that experience? Because obviously you weren't in Utah and you didn't have all of those elements, but what did they do to kind of showcase? Maybe Manuel, you can tell us about that.
You gotta get on mic for this one. So they had Sundance had first of all, they did the remote screenings, so they did like a few little Zoom interviews and things like that. But they also had a virtual reality component to the festival that was really interesting. Yeah, Josh, can you tell people about that?
Well, out of obligation book club, I do have to say virtually it was orgasmic. Thank you for the very colorful adjective. But the virtual world was actually very well done. Just any VR chat, if you've ever seen videos of it, you could walk around and talk with filmmakers from around the world. Didn't even speak your language. And then we found some secret rooms, which I called the cocaine room, because every good Hollywood party has a cocaine room. And there was a hidden chat room where you could just hang out with people there. And so we did.
Huh, Crosby? Huh? Cocaine? What?
Wow.
Me, Nicole, and Nicole's my wingman.
Did you meet anybody in those offside kind of chat rooms? Was there anybody who was excited?
Mostly like the director of the festival, Tabitha Jackson, was there with a lot of the programmers, because not a lot of the filmmakers knew about these secrets unless you personally dragged them there. But for fans of Edgar Wright, because he is a male model more than a director, he was running around the VR world flexing his muscles.
Wow. Yeah.
So Tyson and Shelby, do you want to talk a little bit about the experience with the festival?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We did like what, Tyson, probably a good 2 weeks of press that they, for the movie and Sundance. It was a lot of fun. I mean, there's a lot of talking but it was so fun. They definitely made us feel like special without actually being, getting to kind of experience everything the way that we would have loved to. But they definitely did like a great job of still giving us, what they could of an experience, and still like, I think it was pretty effective, even though it was all virtual.
Yeah.
I think it was still pretty effective, and it was a lot of fun too for me at least. I don't know about Tyson, but
That's so cool.
yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. I got to meet a lot of other cast members from other films at Sundance. It's pretty cool to talk with them and get their advice on like how they do what they do and why they're so good at it. And then going to the drive-in for our film was like perfect because like this is a perfect drive-in movie, and I haven't been to the drive-in in such a long time, so like it was well worth the wait, I guess. And then just also just think. Yeah, also just seeing like everyone's actual reaction to the film like afterwards is pretty cool because like at first I realized we weren't able to do that since it was just on the Sundance website. So like actually seeing people react to certain scenes and just the finished product of everything was like really gratifying. It was kind of cool because like I don't know, we all put a lot of ourselves in this, like all of us, the cast and crew, we put a piece of ourselves in this film, and to see it touch people the way it did was mind blowing. I'm still just like, we did that. That's us. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm glad you got that exposure, and people are seeing that talent and giving you guys, I hope, all opportunities certainly to go into your next project with you're carrying a whole lot more equity than what you were just a few months ago, and that's a really good, cool place to be. Brittany wanted to ask, and I know the answer for this, but I'll put it up there. But everybody wants to know where they can see the film. She's asking if there's potential for it to go to other film festivals.
Brittany, hi Brittany.
Hey Brittany, shout out to Brittany. She played
Brittany.
with
maybe Manuel explain, distribution and what the festival world is in relation to where you are now.
Yeah, so we were fortunate enough to find a distributor, Magnolia Pictures, who's going to be getting the film out to the public very soon in some really cool ways. So we're super excited about that. So keep an eye out. As far as what that means for festivals, they're kind of just taking it on a case-by-case basis. It's sort of out of, my and Darren's kind of decision making now, and up to the distributor. There is some value for them showing the film at some festivals, to generate kind of additional advertising and interest in the film, kind of get the name out there. But since everything is virtual too, there's a certain point where that would, cut into their sales and, and things like that. So they're kind of being more selective, but it is very possible we'll be at a few other festivals. We've gotten accepted to a few, and it's just kind of like, them deciding which routes they kind of want to take. But we're happy to share that, it's looking like the movie's going to be available to people. Fingers crossed by the end of the summer. Things could change, but that's the plan right now. So we're really, really excited.
Are they talking theatrical, or are they talking just streaming or VOD?
It's still up in the air, but that has been talked about, yes.
I'm just checking to see if we have any other questions. Let's see. Did Doug wants to say, did first state result in the William Morris Agency representing you? Congratulations on being repped by the Morris Agency.
What?
Hi, Doug.
What?
Yeah.
Hi,
Yes.
Doug.
Thank you. And
Wow.
I'm now being repped by WME. They really love the film. They loved everybody in the film as well. They've been complimenting all of you, over and over again. So it's really exciting to see what comes next, what comes from that.
Dude, that just gave me chills. Like, seriously.
Thank you. No, thanks. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't believe it, but they actually missed their call, because we were hanging out in the Sundance green room with all the cast celebrating, but they called me right after they watched it, and we're just, couldn't wait to talk. So,
Wow. Well, like I was talking about, next week we have, somebody who their first film was at Sundance and his career exploded. What has happened, for Larry Meistrich, starting with the Academy Award, for Sling Blade, started with that one film at Sundance, and for him being wide-eyed and not knowing anything and having that experience. So it just makes me recognize how much value can come. And the really interesting thing, once something catches fire and once people know about it, and it's like in the consciousness, that's like something you carry with you forever, because movies are timeless. So this isn't just, this year or this month or whatever, we're going to be dealing with this. You will have cachet that will be provided to you just based on what the film has already accomplished. And you haven't even started looking at large audiences and serious money, in your distribution plan. So it used to blow me away. I've known Larry for years. I worked for him for several years in distribution, and how many people and how much influence that he had because of that one film, still to this day.
Absolutely. And I'm so grateful for everybody involved for making this happen. And I hope that everybody here sees, those similar benefits. I know if you already have from it as well. And I'm just so excited by that and so grateful. Even though it was a small production, we had so much help bringing this across the finish line. Even just down to, someone in Valley Springs who's like, hey, you want to shoot in my house for a couple days? Like, oh, you guys need this type of car, like to sit in the background of a scene. I have a truck like that, that type of help, was constantly there. And that's what helped us create this film. And we're just so grateful. And we can't wait. We can't wait for people to see it. We hope it, it gets a lot of traction, like you said. And, in the COVID world, that's kind of what another thing they're looking at, figuring out what's the best, way to put it out there. But it looks like, we're hopeful for what the vaccine is going to do and everything. So fingers crossed that a lot of people will get to see the movie.
Well, it would be a blast to be able to find a way to bring a local screening when we can have, theatrical. And, like I said, the Crest in Sacramento, because it can seat 1,000 people, you can have a hell of a party with 250 in there and still be COVID compliant. So, whatever can be done to just support that and highlight locally what you guys are all about. Like I said before, and so basically nobody can see it until they put their distribution plan in place. You're not going to have anything.
Most likely, I need to, and again, it depends. I'm actually not sure when these other festivals are happening, but if they do happen before, there might be a possibility for that. And I'm not sure how they want to do it, but I have a feeling that if they do show at other festivals, they'll be close to the release date, which should be decided in the next week or two. So, definitely let you all know, as soon as we know when you'll be able to watch it. But it won't be that much longer. And
yeah. So everybody that's on this, do me a favor, and if you're not already getting it, go to our website and click to sign up for the newsletter, because any news that we have about the film, we want to be able to share. That's one of the ways that we can do it. And we definitely want to connect with you and be able to tell your stories as things kind of, evolve for you as well. Or, in addition to that, just keep you involved in projects that are happening locally, because that's going to be all about the question now. How do I find that guy? How do I get that girl? So yeah, I'm hearing this though, and I will tell you that it's apparent that Manuel is a master chef. Like, just to be able to understand each of these roles and how to get people to do their best and to give you what you need to accomplish. I'm just hands off to you, because as good as everybody is in their roles, you got to have somebody that's stirring the pot and knowing, what to add and when. So I just can't applaud you enough. I'm so impressed.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
We love you, Manny.
Thank you, everyone. But it really was a collaboration. Between everybody here, everybody who's not here, and then Darren as well. Being there from day one, coming up with the idea together, and just like seeing it through to the end, and Brandon, handling so much of the logistical burden of putting the film together, and just LK busting her ass on figuring out all the special effects and all the blood squibs and everything like that, and Cody Martin. As I'm sure you all know Cody, as you should, but fantastic. Rylan and Franny did such a great job on the crew on the days they were there. Lighting that huge set in the final location, and the car chases, and there's so many other people too. Randy Nunlaw, Joe Barnett, Jordan and Garrett Sachs. I mean, I could go on and on naming people. Everybody, please look at the IMDb list, because everybody on that list was just such a key part of making this thing happen. So I can't take full credit. But the collaboration is fun. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely.
And that's, going back to the acting stuff, the rehearsal, that was some of my favorite time, and that's just what makes it enjoyable as a filmmaker. And that's how the words that you write on the page actually start to come to life, and the characters start to become people. And that's kind of one of the big reasons why I like making movies. So
yeah,
facilitate.
Keep making the.
I don't know, because I remember producing a film one time, and we had so many steps. It was the biggest pain in the ass to do gunfire and have to deal with regulations and all of the things. You had a scene that was, something that Tarantino would be proud of. What the fuck? I mean, like, how did you who was there to coordinate that arsenal of, and any of you, I've never shot a gun. I wouldn't even know. Did you know going into this that was one of the things you were going to have to learn about if you didn't already know?
And what? I want to find out from Tarantino. Somebody's got to reach out and find out if he's watched it and if he feels the same, because it just keeps coming up.
Yeah, no kidding.
I'll probably be pissed and say, why are these people ripping me off?
Why are they ripping me off?
No, it had its own. It wasn't a direct copy of anything. So while you had elements that, he could certainly say, man, that's mine.
In that scene, when he was talking about doing it, it was never fully, they never knew whether they're going to do a live fire or not. It wasn't until a few weeks before, or maybe a month before, that you guys made the decision.
Live fire? What did you do, or versus whatnot?
So it's a complicated, and I'd love to hear everybody chime in on this to get the individual experiences of being in the scene. But from a production standpoint, so we wrote the scene because we're like, fuck yeah, that'd be fucking awesome. How are we gonna do it? I don't know. Let's just figure it out, right? But it's gonna be safe. That's no, we committed. We're not going to do anything sketchy. We're not going to have someone's cousin bring his gun and because he makes blanks or whatever. None of that is happening. So personally, Darren and I, we love this type of movies. In particular, there's one called Way of the Gun, which if you haven't seen, has like one of the most awesome shootouts in a movie in quite a while. That, and you know, they did it all practically, and it just has like, when you can see the smoke coming out of the gun and you can see the actor reacting in the moment to the blast and like all of that, and the flares coming out of the barrel. Yes, you can do a lot of that digitally as well, but it gave it a rawness that I was really hoping we could capture. And then I suspected, but I wasn't sure that it would be cheaper, actually, to have it look 100%, because, you know, I mean, and I was all for, you know, I would have tried to do the VFX if that was what it came down to. And you know, if we didn't have the budget, I would have gone in there and figured out how to do it, but I wasn't sure if I could, right? Mm-hmm. So, you know, our producer, Brandon, big part in making this happen. We were able to link up with ISS Props, which is one of the biggest armorers actually in Hollywood. They've worked on, I think they worked on Inception. They worked on like the hugest, you know, movies you can think of, but they also do small films. There's like this whole range, you know, of what they do, right? So within our budget, we essentially had to figure out which guns we could afford, because, you know, they're not all the same. Because you're renting these guns from the armorers, you're hiring the armorers for every day that you're renting the guns that actually fire blanks. So we had to figure out which ones we could afford and what fit each characters in the scene. But then also it's like, okay, well, we can get like plastic guns to use as props for the days when the armorers are not there, because otherwise your movie is like 100 times the budget, right? And this is actually how it's done anyway on any real movie set where blanks are being fired. If the gun is not firing in the shot, it's actually a fake gun, and they just switch it out. And the actor is handed that gun right before they call action. It only has the set amount of blank shots inside of it that are going to be shot for that take, and then they yell cut, and then you hand it right back to the armorer. So and they also kind of instruct you on where you can point the weapon, how far away you have to be from each other, and everything to make it completely safe. And then you don't have to do is VFX at the end. And we still, you know, we did augment it and supplement it here and there due to our budget. Sometimes in a wide shot or something, someone way in the back would have a fake gun, and we would then add VFX to that one, but the ones up close would be real, and so on and so forth. So, but it, you know, it cost a lot. It was probably the most expensive part of the film. But I was so glad that we did it that way. And, you know, another funny thing, we can only afford enough ammunition to do like 1.5 takes of every shot. So that put the pressure on all the actors. Like, you know, it was like being in the real situation. There's no take 3. If you're lucky, you get a take 2, maybe. So let's get it right. And it just gave it that chaotic energy. I had tallied up on my storyboarded the whole scene, and I had tallied up how many shots could be fired in each frame from each caliber of weapon too, because we were working with 2 different types of weapons. And one other interesting thing too, if anybody wants to have a machine gun shootout in their movie, because of California gun regulations, it's actually cheaper to get an Uzi than it is to get an AK-47. A lot cheaper. That's why TC had an Uzi in this film, and Grid. But anyway, I'll let the rest of you guys share if you want to share about anything else about the experience of using those weapons and doing the takes and performances with them. So go.
Yeah, it added a realism to it. We had squibs going off around us too, which were dust hits and things like that.
How did they do those?
There was a paintball gun and they were shooting close enough to where it would be caught on screen, but not so close that it was really a danger to us. And having those hit next to you was terrifying. I mean, you hear it whiz by, and then you're shooting back, and it just added a realism to it that was really, really amazing that we did it that way.
I guess raise your hand if you want to go next, or if you want to chime in. Book club.
Hello, Josh.
I was planning to hold this over everyone's head for the next 10 years, but I have a confession. I'm very sorry, Andrew. I had 2 stray shots on the special effects team shooting paintball dust pellets. One of them hit Angela, and she blamed Andrew that day, and the other one hit Dave, and he's standing right behind me, so he can finally get revenge.
I got hit, dude. I knew it was him. I knew it was him. I couldn't tell him.
Yeah. That's smart.
Yeah.
I don't know if TC is watching, but I took one to the ankle too. And I think 5 minutes before the scene, he's like, "I got you, dude. Don't worry.
Yeah. And
TC, that guy's
way too
a
much
good
fun
guy
doing
to
it.
have around.
Another thing, they literally would be throwing dust at us, handfuls of dust. We're getting hit with dust and like paintball guns, and at the same time, we can only use so much ammunition, and we better aim that way, but don't hit that, or don't go too close to that person. And it was crazy. Luckily, the energy was really high, and we were all like, excited. And
to be fair, the practical effects kind of like added to the chaos of the scene, and kind of gave it that extra spice and flair it needed.
It's really too bad we couldn't use any of the spiders in the movie because.
Yeah. Oh my God! I know. There was some humongous
bats
spiders.
too.
Yep. Yeah.
The bats would start to wake up when we would get to set, and so you'd have bats flying above you and all over the place. It was great, It's like its own little ecosystem.
Yeah.
Where were you shooting? Like, what were your locations? Where were they based? All of them?
For the entire movie, or just for that scene?
I mean, the entire movie overall, but that scene.
Yeah. So most of the movie was shot in and around Valley Springs, California, which is about an hour from SAC, and that's where Darren and I grew up. And then that scene was actually right down the road from Darren's house, which was kind of our location headquarters. It's about 4 minutes down the road at the Calaveritas lumber mill. Darren's he's probably like 18 years older than me, and we met at the local public access TV station, but he worked there when he was a teenager, and so he still knew the guy who owned the property. And we had actually been, that scene was written to be shot in an airport hangar. And we also knew someone who ran the local airport, but we were kind of looking at it, and there were certain things that we weren't going to be able to do. And Darren's like, "Oh, I just remembered, I know the guy who owns the lumber mill." And we went in there, and it was that was like an upgrade, and that happened time and time again, where we had one thing in mind, it fell through for some reason.
Yeah.
But, Darren, particularly being in charge of locations, kept an open mind, and then we wound up with something even better. And it worked great for the shootout because there was so much stuff to hide behind, and it became like, we went in there, and it's like, how do we use this location to make the scene more interesting and fun, like use the environment. And so we kind of it started with Darren and I just walking around in there, filming each other, like, oh, this person can stand here, this person can stand here. And then we got all the cast together one day, just kind of for a couple hours, moving everybody around like little chess pieces, seeing how people can move and what they can do and who gets shot first and so on and so forth. After we we rehearsed that, like, almost like it was like a play or dance moves or something, because the positioning had to be accurate for timing and safety reasons. So we just kind of ran it over and over again like drills. Then from there, I drew diagrams that I gave to Cody so that he could know where everybody was at to light the set, and we went from there. So yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, it was.
And you gotta love hometown shooting. I mean, when you know your space and you've got those kind of connections, so it's the next one might be a little, harder if you venture out of that space. But I love that you took advantage of every possibility, and I bet your town was very supportive of what you were doing. They're going to be having a parade for you, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. There, and Darren knew so many people because he works at the local grocery store, so he sees pretty much everybody who lives there. So yeah, it was we had a ton of support for sure. Jesse, were you gonna say something?
Yeah, actually, I have sort of a question for you because, when we shot that shootout, everything was happening simultaneously. So it was like Manuel and Darren figured out where everyone was going to be. That was, it's such an enormous amount of people. And as soon as that shooting happens, everybody is moving in all of these different directions, and all of these plot points are sort of threading together at the same time. So not only are we in the middle of a big shootout, but all of these plot elements are still rolling and happening all at the same time. So every time we did a take, it was everybody doing the exact same thing because, depending on where the camera was going to be, you needed the layers of people in the background behind this and this and this.
It's true. It was very visceral because it's this big building, where it's like echoey, but it's like everybody's so far away. It seems like the whole side of the building, it just goes out into nothingness, like that was wide open. There's not a door on that side or anything. It's cold. It's like we're shooting this mostly like it's like 11 to 2 in the morning, so it's cold. It's like the middle of the night. And it's true. We were all like kind of worn out, run down. It was like these long days because we really needed to get it. But then as soon as action, it would be like, oh my God, so much chaos, so many things zipping, people screaming, like all this stuff is happening. It was very
immersive.
Yeah.
Good word.
Well, quickly to what Ryan talking about the horror of those dust paintballs, which was so true. My character actually I've been stripped of a gun at this point, and so everything that was on me had nothing to do with me firing and everything to do with me being shot at. And so all of my takes were, like trying to like sleuth my way through these little corridors of wood the whole time getting shot at. And it really was horrifying to kind of work out with these guys. Like, okay, like I'm going to be here. You're going to shoot this board right here. And then I'm going to move. And then you're going to shoot that board. And then right over here. And every time it really did feel like, oh God, it was all of the reactions were so honest. But my question,
I think everyone was scared.
How were you able to have any kind of understanding of how that edit was going to come together amidst all of that, like where your line was, like without confusing everybody?
Yeah, well, it wasn't like pre-vised in a computer like animation sense, but it was essentially pre-visualized through the stuff we all did that one big rehearsal day. Filming that, taking pictures of that, and then turning that into a storyboard. The edits were in the storyboard, because when you're doing a scene like that, you have to know that it's going to work before you shoot it, because you simply don't have the time or the resources to get more than what you need. And so we had to be as efficient as possible. So it was essentially cut before it was ever shot. And it was actually it was a lot of footage to edit, but it wasn't the most difficult scene to edit because it kind of edited itself. There were only a few ways that you could like cut it together where it would feel like how it was supposed to feel. And so, and it also helped too, like, and especially once we started counting bullets, it's like, we need this part of this angle in the edit. We're not going to sit there and do the entire scene from this angle. So we were able to move. So that's why we were able to get so much coverage as well, and I mean, I just had that all in my head. I had looked it over so many times and just kind of like internalized how it was supposed to come together. And so I know you guys, it probably seemed frustrating on the day that, why do we need this shot or that shot? But every single shot that we got is in that scene. So
did you guys have any Easter eggs or any continuity, just the after the fact stuff that you go, but then nobody will notice forever.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. So number one is that Mike's dreads grow a couple inches from the beginning to the end of the movie. That's how long of a night it was for him. But also, there's one funny thing that I always think is funny anyway, because of what we're talking about with like switching the fake firearms for the real. Ricky has a different shotgun until she walks into the last scene and starts shooting it. And you think it's a big deal, but when you got to make the movie and you can't paint the fake shotgun because it doesn't belong to you, just do it. There's quite a few little things. I mean, there was a scene even where Ryan's hair and facial hair is shorter because we went back and picked it up, there's quite a few little things. So I don't know if anybody else had anything they wanted to add to that.
Our police car said 420 on it.
That was not, and we didn't plan that. So that car was a rental as well. And I forget the company.
Nice.
I thought it was amazing how Manuel was able to put a mask on my head in that first scene that I was in.
Oh yes. Yeah. So I forgot about that actually, but so when we started and Dave was kind of a little bummed, but Dave, you did such a good job performing with your eyes and your body language that you created such a memorable character. And I'm so glad we made this decision, but we had written the script and been talking about having the character of Shannon always wear a ski mask as if it was his security blanket. And then, we weren't really sure. So we started filming and Dave kind of said, well, I'll do it with the mask off and then I can put it on during certain scenes and all this stuff. And so we shot the first introductory scene to the entire gang, the book club gang, with him with his mask off. But then as we got later into the movie and filmed the rest of the scenes, where he's wearing the mask, he was so good at performing with it on, and it added so much to his character. And I was like, that's the character we imagined, So it's kind of like sometimes you have that gut feeling. Always trust that when you feel it, because what we had to end up doing, we had to go back to that house, and the people who let us film in there had moved. They had moved all their stuff out, and they were the new owners were going to be moving in 2 days. And we had to set up the exact same shots, the exact same lenses and angles, and film Dave with his mask on, and then composite him into every shot that he was in with another person in that scene. It worked.
Absolute genius, and you can't even tell in the movie. It was just amazing.
Diabolical.
It's probably one of the most complicated special effects shots.
Yeah,
you don't even know.
That added a little, that adds some stuff to our budget, which was kind of interesting. But it actually worked well enough in the temporary edit that I had actually comped together. That when I told people it was a VFX shot, we would need to clean up. They're like, "What are you talking about? I don't see any VFX in this." And then I had to unmask undo the layers and show them what was there before. Even Jesse, when Jesse's in a close-up, talking, it's a scene between Jesse and Scott. Dave's over his shoulder. He had to be put there with a mask on instead of with the mask off. But it was, done in the service of character. And I guess that's something for everybody to remember. Always think about so much of story is character. And that was a key part of his character that made him memorable. So, in hindsight, we would have kept it on the whole time, but it was a learning experience. And it also shows that, if you're not happy with it, you still might be able to change it later. So don't give up.
Just fix it in post.
In post. Oh my God. And I think we had Donalisa Otto has given several kudos, but she wanted to know who actually choreographed the fight scenes and were there any close calls?
Yeah, let's have Shelby and Jesse and Tyson to talk about that.
I don't know, Jesse, were there any close calls or were there actual calls? I don't know.
I think it was yeah, it was probably a combination of no close calls. It was either definitely contact or like we were totally safe. Yeah, I might have
got really into it. So
yeah, it's so challenging. I mean, like Shelby was, I mean, her and I think were both really after something that felt real. And we had the guy who was helping us choreograph stuff. I mean, he was actually way more concerned, and Manuel as well, about like the safety.
That was Phil Weaver was our
and
choreographer.
not that we weren't, but you know, Shelby and I were both wanting to lean in a little bit more to something that felt like rough and real. So that's what we did, and it was I think I got hit in the balls probably twice, but it was worth it. It's worth it in the end.
there's the scene where, you know, where we're fighting and like I think they do a close up on like my feet, like barely dangling on the ground. Like that was all like real. And I was like Jesse said, like I was committed. I'm like, I mean, I don't mind, you know, the car scene when we're like wrestling in the back, that was all real. Like, you know, we didn't really have like
when we watched that. It was I've seen it a couple times, and every time he'll be like, "You don't even understand how exhausting that was. You don't even understand."
Because I held up a good fight because I was training.
I just want to make sure everybody here knows that neither I nor Phil Weaver nor TC Morgan asked them to go that far. The mission was to make it safe, and they you know, once we called action, I'm behind the camera. It's like, okay.
Well, the thing with the car was initially Phil was really choreographing like some really intricate martial arts work, and it was really cool stuff. But when we got in the car, like, and of course for these car chases, the car is not going anywhere. The car is stationary, and so Shelby and I are having to create the fiction of this car moving by literally like throwing
each other
across the car. So we'd be like laying down here wrestling, and then we'd have to like heave our whole bodies over to the other side.
Manuel just yelling left, and I'm like, "Oh, here we go, Jesse." It was back and forth. Yeah, that scene was not the car one in specific. The like first fight was very choreographed. But the car one was just kind of like very natural and just like went with it. And like, I was fine with that. I think it came across very realistic. And I mean, when you're wrestling in a car, I mean, I think we did a good job, but it was fun to me. I mean, I felt like I held my own pretty well.
Definitely. So Tyson, do you want to add, you've played a small role in the fight scene, very brief role, but then also just stunt stuff in general. Did you have anything to add?
I also hit him. I mean, like I give him a good slap, right?
Yeah, Samuel and Nicole beat me up, so that was cool. But other than that, like in that particular fight scene with Shelby and Jesse getting kicked in the head, that was fun to sell. Because at first I didn't know what I was doing. And then I realized I had dreads, so I was like, the more I shake my head, the more my dreads are kind of just gonna sell it.
Still kills me. That still kills me.
Yeah, so that was fun to shoot. And then working with TC on jumping out of the window because I had to run away from the old lady, Leah. She
crazy ass
shooting that even though like she wasn't there in some of the takes that we did because like it was just me and Manuel sometimes, and just having Manuel running around the house with a camera at me was terrifying in a way. So I don't know, if you just seen a guy with a full camera set up just running towards you full speed, it's kind of creepy. But but then just with the effects of having like the bullet shots and stuff, they weren't really loud when we actually shot it. So just learning what gunshots sounded like, and I was just studying a lot of like short films or some of my favorite action scenes to kind of really get reactions down and stuff like that. But yeah, just jumping over everything, running, and I don't know, it was just jumping
out Darla's window. window.
Oh yeah, jumping out the window. That was honestly my favorite thing to do. Stunt wise in the movie. Luckily, I survived. It was higher up than what it looks like in the film, so I was kind of scared at first to just jump out of a window. But there were paths and everything, so that was fun. But yeah, I kind of feel like a little baby Tom Cruise, just a little bit.
Yeah, I had a couple of stunts in the film too. When I run and get my fingers jammed in the door, and that was like a dive into the car, and then the car is backing up at the same time. But we choreographed that so well, and the timing, and we had crash pads. So I'd run, I'd jump, I'd land on the ground. My hands looks like it's getting stuck in the door, but it wasn't. And then I would roll out of the way. They would remove the pad, and the car would back up. And then I had one where I was jumping and shooting, and Jesse actually took a slow-mo video of it, and it looks so amazing. I'm so excited about this, and it doesn't make it in the film. But here's Ryan doing this Superman jump thing, shooting, and I was like, oh, this is my big action moment. Thank God it's it's gonna make my career.
It's kind of in there. It's in there a little bit, but yeah, for pacing. Jake, I think you had a little stunt too at one point.
Yeah. So when all of the shooting starts, I had a kind of like a little crash pad on the other side of a stack of lumber where I would just kind of heave myself over and forget about Samantha there. But it was fun because TC, at first I was like, man, I know how to do this. I know how to jump over something, and he's like, no, man, like we're just doing this for your safety. And after, a couple takes, I missed the crash pad and then hit the small of my back on a pile of wood. I'm young, but I'm not that young. So it hurt for a little bit and kind of reminded me to be a little more graceful with my jumps. But I had a good time. I love doing stunts and all that good stuff. Like, it's all in good fun.
The gravel too, the shot at the end was so slippery.
Yes.
I mean, I think I got air one time when I fell. Literally fell, slipped, my feet slipped from under me, and I just literally fell on my ass. It was it was intense. The gravel was slippery, so I'm surprised.
Everybody got beat up at some
You
point.
got a couple battle scars, but something to show to your friends.
I love that.
A lot of dust in the mouth.
We have a question for Samuel. What was the most rewarding experience on set from NV Mavondo?
Really just getting the opportunity to create something, really. And there were a lot of moments, really, I echo Nicole's comments and everyone else's comments that when you're on set, you kind of felt like this is something special, you're around a bunch of special people. And even I remember there was a moment with TC that during the shootout, I was standing around with him. And, we kind of were just talking we've all done a lot of things, and sometimes you do projects where it's like, okay, I just kind of, want to get a reel or something, some footage for the reel or something. You're just kind of standing around and get a gig. But everyone that kind of read this script, I think, knew immediately, this is different. You're going to be part of something special. Like TC was like, we've all been on some really shitty projects. This is far from that. This is going to be something. Just the writing is incredible, the directing is incredible, and the cast, everybody was just magical. So we were I think there was a lot of anticipation, when this thing comes, when are we going to see it? Because when it comes out, it's going to be just magical. We all felt it. So just being a part of this as a whole was kind of just one bit. I know that's probably not the answer that they wanted, the whole thing, but it really was just the whole damn thing was great. So
yeah. Okay, and then we have another question. From Josh. Manuel, who is your favorite character or actor in First Date? That's like asking a parent who's your favorite child.
Oh, well,
Vince.
I gotta start. My least favorite character was Brett. He was he was such a dick, so annoying, just a codependent, asshole of a friend. What? That guy's not a friend to Mike.
Why did you even have him in the movie?
I don't know. We thought about cutting him out, having Mike just talking to himself in the bedroom. You know, I don't know. It was a mistake to have him on board, but you know, we were just using him for his crew skills.
Right. Seriously, on some real stuff right here. We got Ryan and Angela here. My first realization that this movie was going to be amazing is hearing those two banter during book club, and that's why we named our little scene book club. But I want to hear them talk about like the energy that they were able to tap into and really let us set the bar for over the top but still very relevant acting. I just want to hear you guys talk about that. It's amazing.
Well, it really comes from a true hate for each other. We absolutely despised each other and just couldn't stand being in the same room. So
kept interrupting me. And it pissed me off.
Excuse me, I was talking. So let's just.
You guys take turns. I want to hear what you have to say.
It's like we never left.
Yeah, it was so fun.
Yeah, I remember I kept pointing my gun at him during the chemistry scene, and he was like taking his finger, pushing it away, and it just made me want to point it even more. I'm like, really, you know, like it's like we were just trying to get each other a little bit. It was just the fun energy of it. I think because of the writing of the script, could get you in that mood when you're saying all those lines, you know, and then we just kept going with it, running with it. Even between
felt like I was sitting there just trying not to laugh the whole time. You guys were amazing. You brought the energy, and like it really did, like I said, set the bar for the rest of the actors to really bring it. You know, really bring it.
Can I ask?
Timing was amazing.
Can I ask a question, Lori?
Of course.
I was just curious. It's kind of be for all the actors, maybe starting with Nicole, but going with everybody. I was just curious if you, because everyone's kind of different, how, if at all, did improv work into your process? Or did you enjoy more being, you know, on script, or like, was it little things here and there? I'm just, you know, curious. I'd love to hear you guys talk about that, especially Scott.
And were you open to that as a director?
Yes. Oh, yes. And yeah, absolutely. And so I guess, yeah, to lead it off, like, Darren and I, you know, we wrote, we were really careful when writing the script, and you really wanted everything to sound good and be appropriate to each character and so on and so forth. And there's a lot of little pieces that needed to connect for the story to make sense. So we just had to make sure that came across, but I personally really enjoyed when people would bring other things to it, whether through working it out with them in rehearsal or just like in the moment stuff. And some of the funniest stuff in the movie was improv by these actors. So anyway, yeah, Nicole, and then maybe we can go from bottom up.
I'm going to be honest. There are details that are lost to me now because I feel like I think I fall very intensely in the moment when, I mean, for me, it's intense. It's not always intense on the outside. To kind of clear my palate again, to do another take to make sure it's not like the same delivery. So I actually do kind of like a mini wipe. And then it was in 2018 that we did the filming. So now it's 2021, and I got to be honest, like a lot of the details now are slipping for me until somebody mentions them, and they go, "Oh, that's right." There are a lot of details that you find in the moment that are just absolute treasures. You know, like I had, we wanted me to have sunglasses. I said, "Let me just throw, some that I know that I have together, and we'll decide on the spot. Something will be fine," you know. And then the pair of sunglasses we chose were a little bit janky. Like the hinges had gotten worn a little bit loose. So I had to handle them a little bit carefully, but then it's so perfect for the character. If you remember the scene that was like the exclusive footage that was released before Sundance happened, it's just the scene with Tyson in the car, and then Sam and I drive up. And I slowly take off the glasses and slowly, carefully put them like in their loop. And it's just this painstaking, like oozing thing that I think stemmed from actually being like, oh shit, are these glasses going to fall apart? You know, in real life. And like with Manuel's inspiration for the whole story, a real life thing that's very tiny can be very Princess and the Pea. And just really amount to something that's much more than just a little bloop. So the chemistry of being around people can really change what you've been practicing at home. Memorizing your lines is not the same thing as executing them on set, definitely. And if you're riding the real energy, sometimes if there's low energy, that's really hard because you have to drum it up anyway. And I forget who was mentioning, like, I think it was Leah, that it gets, you know, to the point where you're like kind of dropping off and you're trying to do jumping jacks, you know. I'm looking over at Sam and he's got the short sleeve uniform and I'm like, thank God I have the long sleeve uniform. And because I was really lucky, we were both cold and I was wearing like, you know, long johns and shit under there. I was wearing layers and layers, and I think I got slowly plumper looking. Like I felt like I was a kid in the snowsuit, like waddling around. Meanwhile, I've just got my gun and I'm moving really fast. But that's when I've got the most layers on, is like actually for all the action scenes. But it's true that at least when there are that many people in the room and you yell action and everybody is moving, there is a burst of energy that ripples out to everybody. And it's just natural. You don't drop off at that point. If it's you and one other person and you're, you know, like Tyson and Sam and I, it's the three of us. Like we're only in that one scene with everybody. We don't get to be with the gang, you know. So it was really kind of more of a triangle of people, a little triad for us, and trying to keep each other's energy going. Sometimes you really have to, it's weird. You can't give yourself the energy, but somebody else can give it to you. And you can give somebody else energy, but you can't give it to yourself. Sometimes in those like late night, chilly moments. And somebody else's line delivery, you'll go like, oh, I've never imagined it like that. And it just like sets off this little firework inside of you to respond in a really like genuine way. So you have to be really in the moment and be drawing from all of your practice. And it's this kind of a surreal headspace I find to be in, because you have to be like mentally very loose and still be like the little child holding on to the balloon string really tightly at the same time, but making it look like it's very relaxed, you know. Hopefully that was a decent answer.
Next.
Can't hear you, Scott.
It's the universal you're muted sign.
This is the one time we don't hear Scott talking. What's going on?
I think how we doing?
Yes.
We good?
Yes.
Yeah, Fessler, you lose one of your crew credits from the movie because you fucked this up. But yeah, it's about being in a space, and I have to say that whole soliloquy I went on about the audition and the second audition, a lot of that was improv, and I was in the moment. I live in the moment. I'm a lot older than most everybody on the cast, and I drew a lot of what I said from my life. So you just draw from that and go with it. And yes, we could go by the script, and I was actually a studious little guy, and I'd go, okay, let me remember my lines for this scene, and I would do them. And Manuel and Darren would cut, okay, and they'd look at each other, okay, well, do this, and they'd let me go. So yeah, the improv was a huge part of it. And I think, I don't know, Manuel, what, 90% of what I said on screen is improv?
Probably, yeah. We actually had. I mean, Darren and I were very proud of our really well written car selling speech that Dennis gave to Mike. And actually, there's a great video that I have of Jesse auditioning for that role and delivering that speech perfectly. And it sounded great, but that's not in the movie because Scott riffed on it and made it completely his own. And it was fucking hilarious. I couldn't stop laughing. So that's what ended up being in the final cut.
Yeah, and I have to give some love to a guy that I served with in the Air Force. His name was Bruce Marat. He's a masshole, which are people from Massachusetts are assholes, and we love them. But Brucey used to riff about, hey, I drive a car that's not older than or not newer than 1977 because that's when they make them out of fine American steel. And that's what I drew upon. So I owe that to Brucey, and I owe that to Manuel for just going, hey man, sell me this car. And I owe that to Manuel and Darren for just going, hey man, riff, we got a good take, we'll use it, but try this. They allowed me to experiment, and I can't thank you guys enough because I felt so much in my comfort zone. And also, I have to shout out to Jesse first and foremost, because you guys can see that I'm kind of a loose cannon. Jesse recognized that early on, and there were times that he had to actually grab me and shake me, or sometimes slap me upside the head and go, look, dude, quit screwing around between takes. We got this take to do. And he wouldn't say anything. He was just like, in the moment, he'd shake me. And Jesse kept me, I guess you could say, professional. And God bless you, man. You're a professional dude, man. I thank you. Thank you so much.
He was the just can get a credit as the Scott Wrangler.
You know what? I think that's where we need to be. He was the Scotty Wrangler. He was. But Jesse, you're a true pro, man. And thank you so much, because I couldn't have done Dennis. I couldn't have done Dennis the way I did without you standing there scaring the shit out of me and ripping the tape off my face.
Well, and I couldn't have been looking as sincerely frustrated and irritated if I hadn't been working off of you, Scott. Now, Scott, I got to give you, by the way, I got to give you so much credit.
What does that say?
Silence is golden. Duct tape is forever.
Oh. No,
It's silver. It's silver.
I like forever.
I mean, just to maybe comment on the improv in general, Manuel was really generous. I mean, for me, I think I enjoy being able to improv when it's when the director is okay with it. I think the best improv comes from either having no script or being like really understanding the script really well. Because I think it's really important for the director to be able to like give them the takes that they wrote. But then to be able to, you know, like riff on some stuff, of course, is a lot of fun, and to find out what comes out in the moment, or sometimes to be on the other side of the camera and try to give something to the other actor to generate something that's fresh for them, you know, to surprise them. And it doesn't matter what you're saying, I think can be useful.
Yeah, I just want to compliment you on that. You really did a great job of giving to the other performers the entire book club that you had, you know, most of your scenes with, and like, you know, Scott as well, and Tyson and Shelby. And that was so hugely influential in everyone's performance. You know, I think a lot of actors did that. Everybody in the gang kind of did that with each other, you know, and so, you know, like if you're not on camera, you don't have to technically be in character, but I was really happy to see that everybody was giving it their all, even when the shot was not on them, because they wanted to help out the person who was getting their shot in that moment.
Well, that was true. And also, the scenes were a lot of fun. Like, the script really was great, and it was enjoyable to be doing those lines and to be living in that space. And Scott, for as it's true, for as much as I appreciate you letting me you know, wrangle you in those moments, man, you were hilarious. And you know, when Lee and I were watching it, some of the biggest laughs that we got were off of the stuff and knowing that that it was just you riffing and it ended up working and cutting together so well. Manuel, huge props to you for being able to streamline all of that.
Well, huge props to the both of you for making that big jump and going to LA, because you're both going to be great successes. We love you. And you're two of the most talented people. And I'm so happy to know that you're from my neck of the woods, Blacksburg, Virginia, whether you like it or not. I love you guys.
Wow. Real mission drift.
Yeah.
Thank you, Scott.
Oh my gosh. We had another question that came in. Let's see. Hillary is asking, someone mentioned keeping bullet casings from the set. What did the rest of you keep as mementos? Did anybody else keep your mask or your...
Leah got a scar. I had a broken toe. In fact, Leah's got a funny story, I think.
That's a memento.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that funny, but it's true. In the chase scene where I was chasing Tyson, and the leaves were like dry on top of wet on the bottom, and I slipped, and underneath the leaves, it turned out there was one of those like cement
staircases,
the little foot
things.
Yeah, like pavers that you walk across the yard on. Anyway, I landed and busted my knee open. So I've got that. That's my memento. It's my.
I was gonna say during the stunt thing, I was like, the thing that I remember the most from watching the movie was you falling. was you falling? I'm not joking either. That I was watching it at Sundance and I went, that looks very real. I have to remember to ask her about that
when I was doing it for sure. And when TC was like, okay, here's how you're gonna flip, and I was like, this is gonna look so stupid. There's no way that this is gonna cut together. I was like, how is this me like landing on the bird bath? Like, can we talk about the logistics of like what's happening here? But it worked. It was fine.
With that much action and activity and movement, I'm amazed that nobody had to go to the hospital at some point.
Yeah, and that all the injuries were for like real dumb reasons, slipping on leaves. Mine was actually jumping into the back of the car with the money, like doing this like heave around the car. I don't know what happened. At some point during the like last take, I totally fucking like broke my toe.
I know his toe has been bothering him literally since.
Oh no!
Yeah, it's so stupid.
A beautiful reminder.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I am. I'm so proud and happy for all of you to have this experience of having this film that you had such a good time making, and you have such great memories. I completely foresee incredible things that are going to be coming because of the film, because of Manuel and Darren. I'm sorry he couldn't be here. That would have been nice to give him, a chance to take a picture too.
Darren, amazing. Yes.
Round for Darren, who's not here.
He prefers to be behind the camera, so don't be surprised he's not in front of the camera.
I know, I get that, but there's a point where you got to be seen if you're the creator, to a point as well. So that's part of where it's going to take you to the next level and the next level and the next level. So please keep us informed. Join the newsletter and at least stay connected to what we're trying to do here. You're now, thank God, digitally we all keep together and work together, and things are being done. Production is opening up a little bit more and more and more. So I hope opportunities will all come to you, but keep us informed as to what's going on with the film, because that's all we're going to hear. And half the questions here are people saying, where can I see it? How can I see it? So there is a lot of work to be done on social media to just people connected to what you're doing with the film. Don't forget about that, because, while it's the worst of things and the best of things, that's a great way to just keep people connected with what's happening with the film. So I'm just really thankful that all of you could come together and that we gave you the opportunity to hang out with each other.
No, thank you, honestly.
Yeah.
This was awesome. We
You can
really
tell
appreciate
we all love
it.
each other. We're having a blast just hanging out, talking about making the movie. And I do love you And
He's ignoring you.
Well, we're gonna wrap it up, and thank you all for hanging in with us, watching what's going on, and again, just participating in what the CFAA is bringing to the local creative community. This is a great example of a lot of people who are showing what they can do, and we can all be proud of that. So thank you for coming. Thank all of you for the time. There you are. There's the faces.
Guys.
I should just say you like that the whole time. Oh
That's
my
what Shannon really looks like.
well, and we also will have, I know Elizabeth has been taking pictures throughout. She'll be posting something on social media, and we'll also have a link to the article or to this interview where we can send it to you guys and you can watch it after the fact. So
Thank you, Emmanuel.
Awesome.
Thank you.
CFAA for having us.
okay. Bye, y'all.
Thank you so much, Lori. Have a wonderful night.